This is something that you don't need, but everybody should have one, and it's a motorized slider. This particular model is from a company called YC Onion, and it's called the Hot Dog 3.0. What is great about this is that it's a motorized remote control slider. So you can control everything from this slider from your smartphone. And it's gonna allow you to do shots that you just cannot do with a gimbal, let alone with a camera mounted on a tripod. When you get the slider, it already comes assembled, which is great. And you just need to fit the motor and the mechanism. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes. And you also get an NPF battery, a range of cables to operate different cameras, and a padded bag. That does the job, and it does it well. The beauty of this type of sliders is that you don't just get the ability to do track in and out or going sideways. It's the fact that you can do parallax and panoramic shots. And that's really great, because all you need to do is turn this rod that you have in the middle of the slider, and you can control either the parallax effect or the panoramic. Parallax is fantastic if you do any type of product photography or interviews or filming yourself. The panoramic obviously is for landscapes and time lapses. And what's so great about it is that it's so easy to use. You just have to download an app, turn it on, it will link automatically to the slider, press start, and then you just set your in and out points. And it's that easy. You don't need to go through the dials and the buttons that you get on the actual motor itself, which you can do it if that's what you like. But I prefer the app because we all have smartphones, and it's a lot simpler, quicker, and you can remote control it. You can literally be across the room or in a different room altogether and control this. And as you can see here, it's so easy to do. That's my end point or my B point. I can then go either on time lapse or video. In this instance, I do video. I set it to cycle, and all I need to do is press one button, and that's it. The slider now is gonna be moving left and right for however long I tell it to do, or until the batteries run out. And you can control the intensity of the parallax. You know, you can go quite intense or just subtle as I had it. And you can set it in the middle, and you are gonna have a traditional sideways shots where the slider is literally just going sideways. I wish they would have something that is really easy to get to, and you can just lock and you know that you are in the absolute middle. This is fantastic for product photography or product video, for interviews, if you are a solo content creator, for real estate, because a lot of the times you rely on gimbals to do shots, and not everybody has the best stabilization when it comes to gimbals, whereas you can set up the slider either on a surface, as I have it here, or on a tripod, and you're gonna get these really nice review shots. I think for real estate or that type of video, this is fantastic. But if you do time lapse and landscape photography or videography, this is great. If you do any type of narrative work, if you do corporate video, you could literally just set the slider, leave it running, and you are done. You have a second camera. But a fair question to ask is how loud this slider is. Well, let me show you. This is at 100%. I literally have my microphone inches away from my mouth. So this is 100%. And you can just about hear it. And this is a very unrealistic example, because normally you're not gonna have a microphone that is literally about 50 centimeters away from the camera. Look, I've got the microphone just here. You can see it popping down. So hopefully I haven't messed up the audio now. But this is how close the microphone is. And normally you're gonna have the slider a few meters away from whatever it is that you wanna film. You're not gonna hear it. But if this is a little bit annoying, I would recommend that you bring it down to 90% and listen to the difference. This is much quieter now, but you can still hear it. But I'm gonna set it now to set to 85. You cannot hear, a microphone will not be able to pick this up. You can just about hear it, but because I'm literally like right next to it. If I had the slider where the camera is or a little bit further away, I would not hear. And as a matter of fact, I've used this slider in a few of my recent videos, and I have it off camera on the side, giving me a second camera angle. and I have it at 85 and I cannot hear it. And another really good thing is that it has a dampening effect. So when it gets to the end of the A or B point, it doesn't just abruptly stop. It actually eases out and then eases back into the other direction. And that's really great, because what that means is that you can actually use the end of the traveling. And this is something that you have an issue with a lot of motorized sliders, where you can use the middle section, but the end sections of the travel, they're not good because the slider ends too abruptly or is a bit jittery. This is really nice and smooth. It has an amazing 20 kilo payload when it goes horizontal. So that basically means that you can have a relatively lightweight camera, as I have here, or you can have a smartphone or even a fully loaded, almost cinema camera on it. But in my opinion, the best results is when you don't overload the slider. Simply because you can go up to 20 kilos doesn't mean that you should go up to 20 kilos. And the best of it is that you also have 14 kilos in an inclined angle and 6.5 kilos of vertical. It can take pretty much any camera that any content creator or independent filmmaker will put on, because even if you are filming something with a bit of a high-end equipment, you can strip it down to the bare minimum just for that particular shot. So this gives you a lot of flexibility. One thing that you need to bear in mind is that this takes a little bit of time to set up. And it goes without saying that the more you use it, the quicker you'll get at it. But you need to account for that. I genuinely recommend that you use additional anchor points. What I mean by that is that if you mount this slider on a tripod and the slider is going left and right, as the slider travels, you're gonna start to see the camera leaning down. The problem is not the slider. The problem is gravity. As the slider travels outwards, there is a lot more weight tipping the scale in that direction. So you need to either use some lighting stands on the side, or YC Onion has these portable arms that you can screw under either end of the slider and then clamp onto the legs of the tripod once you have your shot set up. And that's gonna make sure that the slider doesn't lean over or tip over as the camera is traveling to either end of the slider. A lot of the times, if you go on location, you will see people on heavy duty sliders using lighting stands. And that's great if the slider is flat. But if you have the slider slightly inclined, or you do any sort of wacky or crazy angles, which is the whole point also of having a slider, you need that flexibility that only an arm like this is going to give you, because a lighting stand doesn't have a ball mount that rotates as the slider rotates. So one of these, in my opinion, on either end of the slider will be very, very helpful. And to operate this, believe me when I tell you, you don't need an engineering degree for this, okay? It's literally 2 buttons. And okay, you have a jog wheel here that you can control the speed. I prefer to use the app. I'm in the 21st century, and this whole thing, it feels kind of a little bit too old for me. If you are in a situation that there is interferences, it's the only reason I could imagine something like this useful. Maybe you see something that I don't see, please let me know in the comments below. But if you use the app, it works really nice. Now, what is also great about the app is that you can pair it to a gimbal and get really nice and amazing shots, almost like having a motorized crane. Now, the downside of this setup is that you have a range of gimbals, but YC Onion hasn't updated to the newer gimbals. I used to have a Xeon Crane M3 and it would work flawless with this slider. Now the M3S is the newer one and it's not supported, so I don't have that. But if you are able to pair a gimbal, you can set this slider upside down with the gimbal looking down and get the most amazing rotating shots. And you don't have this feature with any other brand of slider. Just to help you illustrate my point, I shot a sketch of different shots to show you what you can achieve with this slider and how quickly you can do it, okay? I did all of that in one morning. Let me know what you think. So other than my amazing acting skills, what do you think of the quality of the traveling? Did you feel that it was jittery or it was really smooth? I think it works really nice. Are there any negative things? Because the perfect piece of equipment doesn't exist, and this one isn't either. And as I said earlier, it would have been great if you had a marking or something that easily gets you to the absolute middle without having to guess it. That would have been something really nice. It would be nice if the camera app gets updated to include the newer gimbals from Zhiyun, DJI or Hohem, because that would give a lot of flexibility and a whole new range of shots. But on the actual slider itself, I don't think there is anything else I can think of as a fault. You even get mounting points on either end of the slider in case that you set the slider fully vertical. So this is a very well thought out piece of equipment. Would I recommend this? Absolutely. It's super lightweight, it's really reliable, and it just works. Do I think it's for everybody? No. If you're the kind of person that don't have time, you don't have the patience, you don't have the work or the space, this is not for you. But if you are the kind of person that wants to experiment with new shots, that want to get really smooth camera movement consistently, this is a no-brainer. So if you've ever considered getting yourself a slider or a motorized slider, this one from YC Onion is fantastic value for money. And I genuinely hope that you have enjoyed this video, that you find it helpful, that maybe I've given you a new perspective on a new piece of equipment, and I'll see you in the next one.